Welcome to the TravelPulse podcast. Here's your host, Mark Murphy.
Welcome to the TravelPulse podcast. Filling in today for Mark Murphy, yours truly, Marge Simpson. Today I might invite Homer on. Nah, he's too stupid. Maybe Bart. He's pretty smart, but he doesn't really work too hard. He wouldn't work hard enough to afford to take a vacation. Anyway.
Marge, get out of here. Cut out. Goodbye.
What? What do you mean?
Marge, please. Okay. Sorry, folks. Sorry about that interruption. You got Mark Murphy. I'm back with the Travel Pulse podcast, and we're going to be talking about travel trends for 2019. It's always a good time at the start of the year to look at where we think travel's going, and we can do that in a number of different ways by looking at surveys from the industry and from different players out there that will tell us what's going to be important for travelers. And everything from Virtuoso to USTOA, they've come out with their surveys, and I'm going to give you just a rapid fire overview because a lot of it isn't really new. A lot of it is ongoing. So not exactly earth-shattering, but I got to tell you, interesting nonetheless, I should say. How about that? So the Virtuoso Lux report, they basically came out and said, clients continue to desire a deeper level of personalization and one-of-a-kind experiences. This goes back to the concept of bragging rights and everything else. We've been talking about this, 2 decades. So I don't think that's really changed. And personalization and being able to choose the hotel room you're in and so on and so forth. I remember I was at an Expedia affiliate conference. It has to be, I think it was the first one they ever did. So if anybody can remember when the hell that was, it was a long time ago. We have one of the largest affiliates for Expedia. It's called hotelrewards.com. But with that said, at that conference, there was, I think was it like room 79 or whatever the hell it was. But it was a website, it launched, it was all about personalized service, concierge services. I spoke to the folks there that were presenting in front of everyone about their concept, and I said, well, it sounds to me pretty much like a travel agency. So in other words, you reach out, you get to speak to somebody. When you speak to that person, they then can reach out directly and call the hotel and make sure you're not just booked for an XYZ room, that you want this room on this floor, yada, yada, yada. And that business doesn't exist anymore, FYI, because the model is already in play with tens of thousands of travel agents who have been doing it for years now. So it wasn't exactly a new thing, but again, it was about personalization, having that deeper level of service. Lola is another great example. When we looked at the Lola platform, it was like it's a travel agency with an app. And Paul English with Lola didn't appreciate that. But you fast forward a couple of years, and what do you have? You have a business that's now a tool for business travel, not leisure travel, which was originally envisioned for. So you still have this huge gap when it comes to the leisure market. And there's a really, basic reason for that. Business travel is about transaction. It's about driving transactions. It's not about putting together unique personal experiences. So you have to kind of separate the two out. But in reality, we were right about Lola. I would say the same thing when it comes to artificial intelligence. The idea that AI is going to take over the world of travel is ridiculous. There's an AI company in the space that went out of business last year. So just keep in mind that they were using IBM's Watson and trying to build applications off of that platform specifically for travel. They no longer exist. So yes, is AI going to be part of it? Yeah, it's like saying, are computers going to be part of the process? The answer is yes. The question is, are they going to replace personalization? And my answer to you is we can already have things completely personalized via technology, yet we still need that extra layer that's always going to be there. So think of AI as an enabling tool that's going to allow someone to create a more in-depth experience based on the information you provide them that is captured then through this tool, and then based on that information, that same tool will create suggestions so that an actual travel advisor / travel agent can make things happen for you. So that's what it's about. I mean, because if you just want to make a reservation, you can do that as simple as possible through all sorts of things. Now, that also leads me to the idea of the word agent versus advisor. Now, everybody knows that ASTA, if you're in the industry, changed their name to advisors as opposed to agents. American Society of Travel Advisors. You know what? I'm sorry. I just don't go along with that. Travel agent has been the name for decades and decades and decades. From inception, it has always been a travel agent, insurance agent. Now, the insurance industry has insurance agents, but they also like to call themselves financial advisors, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's an insurance agent. At the end of the day, you're a travel agent. If people don't understand what a travel agent does, right, and they haven't really clearly for decades, what do we know about the word advisor? The word advisor confuses them even more. So now I don't know what an agent is, but now I'm a travel advisor. Okay, well, you still have the same problem. Nobody knows the value proposition for a travel agent or a travel advisor. And that doesn't change when you change the last word in the descriptor. It just doesn't. So my trend is that the people that are so hyped up on the word advisor are going to come back and realize that at the end of the day, what word is known in the public domain? It's agent. And unless they plan on spending millions of dollars, which FYI they don't have to do, that's not going to change. So they can call themselves whatever they want. Pundits can go out and say, call yourself an advisor. And my suggestion is, if you're a traveler, you want to find a travel agent. If you are a travel agent, you want to articulate what you are and what you do as a travel agent and the value proposition. Spend your time and effort on that and your money marketing, as opposed to trying to explain a different version of the same thing with a new word. Okay, that's a little opinion along with trend, but the trend is it's agents. You're gonna realize that. Now, there are a whole bunch of other things going on in the world of travel, right? So one of the things we've seen is national parks visitation is up, RV sales way up, right? What else are we seeing? Baby boomers traveling in droves. They are literally driving the RV business into the national parks when they're open, of course, because right now we're in the middle of a shutdown. But with that said, you have to look at the demographics and see where baby boomers going to go next. Well, what you're finding is that baby boomers really built the cruise industry. They built the minivan industry. They built the SUV industry, and they've built the McMansion industry, right? Now, if you have a McMansion that you bought 5 years ago that you were trying to sell in today's market, forget the interest rate increases, etc. Let's assume interest rates didn't go up. Did you notice that more and more people do not want a large house? They're downsizing. And the problem you have is the group behind the baby boomers is much smaller until you get to the group behind them, which is the millennials, which are even bigger than the baby boomers. So there's this big gap. Well, what does that mean for travel? Well, what it means for travel is businesses like river cruises will continue to boom, because that's a new way for these baby boomers who have seen Europe, who've been on regular cruises, to experience cruising in a different way, river cruising. You're going to see these brands like Virgin coming in 2020, shaking up the entire cruise industry based on how they're approaching it versus how the existing cruise lines are approaching it. And I think this is healthy. I think this is great. It's the same in my industry. When other players come in or you have other things happening, they tend to change how you respond and how innovative you are as a competitor. And everybody needs to up their game. And it's different strokes for different folks. So you're going to see a continuation of new approaches, whether it's cruising, whether it's touring, whether it's all-inclusives, whatever it happens to be, you are going to continue to see new entrants coming in, companies and brands reinventing themselves and realizing that if they don't do that, they will die. They will literally die. Now, they can stay the course, but their numbers will continue to decline in favor of the new entrants or in favor of the folks that reinvent themselves. And that's what I love about travel. I have ADHD. If travel wasn't constantly reinventing and changing, I'd be bored out of my mind. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. You would be somewhere else and I'd be doing somewhere else, something else. I don't know what I'd be doing, but man, if it doesn't hold my attention and I get the attention span of a grape, then, I'm out. And travel has always held my attention because it's always, always interesting. Now, part of what I've noticed in travel is the technology aspect of it. And, people are talking about tech and artificial intelligence and all this, augmented reality and virtual reality. I got to tell you, let's take virtual reality. Do you really think that virtual reality is going to take the place of travel? That's like saying, the Orgasmatron in Sleeper, or I think it was Sleeper, they had the Orgasmatron, remember that, is going to replace actual physical sex. Not happening. Kind of a funny movie, funny scene, right? Woody Allen. But it would be the equivalent of that saying, I'm going to go to the Grand Canyon right now. It's amazing. Yep, seen it, done, move on. Very cool, love it, but going and watching an IMAX movie is not the same as going and heli-skiing, right? You can see, it's amazing on the big screen. Just like I just finished Blue Planet 2. Unbelievable, amazing to see these creatures. And that's about as close as I'm gonna get to most of what they showed, because some of it's like way deep down in the depths. But at the same time, it's super cool. And I totally dig it. So you have to look at where travel's going, what's really gonna move the needle, and forget about the buzzy stuff. So I'm telling you right now, the VR, AR, AI, sort of excitement, nope. That is going to dissipate greatly in 2019. And what's going to happen? It's going to get replaced by things like real experiences, actual experiences. It's going to be replaced by personal insights and advice. It's not going to be manufactured like a response. If you really think about it, think of artificial intelligence in its early days as being the answer to a question you type into Google and you get a response. And there's the list of responses. You still have to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. Well, I think of AI as that with a better understanding of giving you a more accurate answer. And that's a very common sense way of looking at it. But again, I think that that's going to be one of the trends. I also think you're going to see with trends, in addition to the baby boomers continuing to travel like crazy. Do you realize that they control half of all disposable income? So don't take your eye off the baby boomers. Baby boomers are going to drive the travel industry for the next 2-3 decades. At the same time, millennials, which have 30 million more people, 110 million versus 80 million, a generation behind. There's a generation in between, then you got the millennials. The millennials are big into travel, big into experiences, etc., but they're also big into getting advice, and they're heavy users of travel agents, which surprises a lot of people. But it didn't surprise me because several years ago, I hosted a roundtable, if you would, of millennials and asked them, well, why would you, if you grew up on the internet, why would you not, book on the internet, your travel? And the answer came back, and I think it surprised a lot of people in the room, which was, I grew up on the internet, or we grew up on the internet, therefore we don't trust most of what's on there. That's why we want to go and get some unbiased advice. Interesting. And lo and behold, I was talking to Donnie Dawson at Jamaica Tourist Board recently, and he's like, man, Mark, look, it's unbelievable. The travel agents, it's like people said they were going to be gone, and look at them. Now, he was talking about just how big agents are and how important they are. And this is a destination, Jamaica, that puts its money where its mouth is. And they actually train travel agents on how to become specialists. And you can become a Jamaica specialist by taking the courses. And then they recognize these top agents at what they call their white affair, and they bring them down to Jamaica. Unfortunately, I broke my ass. Otherwise, I was going to MC the event this year. It would have been awesome. But I couldn't go, and I was bummed about it. But again, the industry sees the value in where the market's going, and they get it. So if you're not in the industry and you're just listening, why would a destination like Jamaica, that millions and millions of travelers from the US have gone to and continue to go to year in and year out, why would they be so high on travel agents? I mean, that's their business. That's what they do. You know, this is the head of the Jamaica Tourist Board for the US, right? He's telling you travel agents are hot as hell and they're just kicking ass. And who would know better than a guy responsible for putting heads in beds in thousands of rooms in Jamaica? That would be a rhetorical question, folks. He knows, he shares, and I pass it on to you as well. So as you look out at 2019 as a traveler, here's what you want to think about. You want to think about finding a qualified advisor / travel agent. Like I threw that in there. You want to make sure that you vet them. And the best thing to think about is they may not have all the answers, but the question is, can they get you the answers? Can they find the answers? That's the important thing. At the same time, if you are a travel agent, don't try to be all things to all people. Be an expert in your customers' interests, desires, needs, wants, past experiences, future interests, and on and on and on. And if you understand the customer, then you can work with the industry to match them properly. That, to me, is the true definition of a specialist. It's known as a consumer specialist, a customer specialist, not necessarily just a Jamaica specialist. But if I'm a Jamaica specialist and I'm an expert on helping to divine what your desires, wants, and needs are as a traveler, man, I'm going to deliver for you. And that's what travel agents do, and that's what you should be thinking about as you plan travel for 2019 and are looking to get the best bang for the buck. Your best trend and my best suggestion for you as a traveler is to turn to a professional travel agent for that advice. And if you need help, you can always message me through all the social media at Murphy Travels. Be happy to connect you with a travel agent. And if you can find one on your own, make sure you ask them great questions to see whether or not they will meet your needs as a traveler. Until next week, we are off to a fast start in 2019, and I look forward to continuing with the TravelPulse podcast every week, bringing you ideas, insights, and more. And in particular, I really do enjoy the social media stuff, so I should probably throw this in before we leave. Social media is interesting, and one of the trends for social media in 2019 is you're going to see people being a lot more civil, a lot more discourse. They're going to seek first to understand, then to be understood, a la the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the book, and Stephen Covey. No, that's not going to happen, folks. People are going to be as dumb as ever on social media. It's why I tune out all these stupid posts about politics, and it won't change. So give yourself a vacation from social media and make sure that if you're going to engage in conversations around social media, engage in something everybody can agree on. Freaking travel. I mean, that's the one thing that actually brings people together. I mean, you can argue and debate the value of a mass market cruise and whether it's for you or not for you. You can debate whether pick a spot, whether a boutique hotel or an all-inclusive hotel is for you. But nobody's going to unfriend you as a result. And that is one of the trends that I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing that trend in a big, big way. And I got to tell you, it isn't going to change. Social media losers are everywhere. Don't be one of them. And with that said, I'm signing off with the Travel Pulse podcast. Talk to you next week.